When diplomacy dies, the Nexus Prime space station floated like a crystalline flower in the void between galaxies. Its translucent petals stretched for kilometers, each one housing different species from across the known universe. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the human diplomatic vessel, watching the massive structure grow larger as they approached. Her reflection in the reinforced glass showed a woman in her 40s, with sharp eyes that had seen both war and peace. The formal diplomatic uniform felt strange after years of military service, but she wore it with the same confidence she had once worn combat armor. "Impressive, isn't it?" Dr. James Morrison joined her at the window. The scientist's gray beard was neatly trimmed, and his calm demeanor hid the brilliant mind that had helped design humanity's greatest secrets. They built it to inspire awe in visiting species. Psychological warfare through architecture. Sarah nodded. "Everything about this place is designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. The size, the complexity, even the way our ship is being guided to the smallest docking bay available." She watched as automated systems took control of their vessel, steering it toward what looked like a service entrance compared to the grand pavilions where other alien ships were berthed. The docking process was smooth, but impersonal. No welcoming committee waited for them. Just a single maintenance drone that projected a holographic map showing the route to the conference chamber. Sarah gathered her small team. Dr. Morrison, Lieutenant Commander Torres, and Communications Specialist Park. 4 humans against the combined might of 67 alien civilizations. The corridors of Nexus Prime were a marvel of engineering and a statement of power. Each section was built to accommodate different atmospheric and gravitational needs, with seamless transitions between environments. They passed creatures that walked on tentacles, others that seemed to float, and some that appeared to be living crystals. All of them stopped to stare at the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to contempt. "They're treating us like specimens," Torres muttered, her hand instinctively moving to where her sidearm would normally be holstered. Diplomats weren't allowed weapons on Nexus Prime, though Sarah suspected that rule only applied to certain species. The conference chamber was a vast amphitheater with thousands of seats arranged in concentric circles. At the center sat a simple table with 5 chairs, 4 for the human delegation and 1 conspicuously empty. The message was clear. They were on trial, not engaging in negotiations between equals. Ambassador Crixtal emerged from a hidden entrance, his serpentine form gliding across the floor with liquid grace. His scales shifted color subtly, a sign that Sarah's military intelligence briefings had taught her to read as either excitement or aggression. Behind him came a parade of aliens representing the most powerful species in the Galactic Federation. They took their seats in order of precedence, leaving the humans standing at the center like defendants awaiting judgment. "Captain Chen of the species called human." Crixtal's voice was melodious but carried an undertone that made her skin crawl. "Your presence here represents a significant moment in galactic history. Today, we welcome Earth into the protective embrace of the Galactic Federation." Sarah remained standing, her posture straight and military. "With respect, Ambassador, Earth sent me here to discuss terms of contact, not submission." A ripple of amusement passed through the assembled delegates. Several species made sounds that their translators rendered as laughter. Crixtal's scales shifted to a deeper hue. "I fear there has been a misunderstanding. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to inform you of your new status and responsibilities as a protectorate of the Federation." Dr. Morrison stepped forward, his voice calm and academic. "Perhaps you could clarify what protectorate status entails?" General Zephyr, a massive insectoid creature with 6 arms, answered from his seat in the upper tier. "All military vessels and installations will be transferred to Federation control. Your population will be relocated to designated safe zones for their protection. Your industrial capacity will be integrated into the Federation's resource management system. In return, you will receive advanced medical technology to extend your lifespans and protection from hostile forces." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Sarah had expected this, but hearing it spoken so casually still sent a chill down her spine. She looked around at the thousands of alien faces watching them, and saw not curiosity or malice, but boredom. This was routine for them. "And if we refuse?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Crystal's head tilted in what might have been sympathy if his species were capable of such emotion. "Captain, perhaps you don't understand the scope of what you're dealing with. The Federation encompasses 67 species, controls over 10,000 star systems, and maintains a combined fleet of more than 2 million vessels. Your entire planet has fewer ships than some of our individual patrol squadrons. You've been monitoring our communications for decades," added another delegate, a crystalline being whose voice chimed like wind through glass. "We know your capabilities. Your largest vessel displaces barely 50,000 tons. Your weapons are chemical rockets and primitive energy projection systems. You are children playing with toys." Sarah felt Torres tense beside her, but she remained calm. This was the moment she had trained for, the scenario that Earth's leadership had prepared for since first contact protocols were established. "You seem to know a great deal about us. May I ask how long you've been watching?" "Long enough," Crixtal replied. "Your radio transmissions first drew our attention in what you call the 20th century. We have been observing your development ever since. You are an interesting species, but hardly unique. Your aggression and adaptability are noteworthy, but insufficient to pose any significant challenge to established galactic order." Dr. Morrison cleared his throat. "Forgive me, but I'm curious about the other species you've brought into this protective arrangement. Are they satisfied with the terms?" The question caused another stir among the delegates. This time the reaction seemed less amused and more uncomfortable. General Zephyr's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. "The transition period requires adjustments," Crixtal said carefully. "Some species initially resist the benefits of Federation membership. However, they invariably come to appreciate the security and longevity we provide." "Like the Valdorians?" Sarah asked quietly. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The vast chamber fell completely silent. Crixtal's scales shifted through several color patterns in rapid succession. Even the background hum of the station's life support system seemed to pause. "I don't know what you're referring to," Crixtal said, but his voice had lost its smooth confidence. "The Valdorians were a proud warrior culture, weren't they? Masters of space combat, with a fleet that had never known defeat. They resisted Federation protection for almost a decade before accepting your generous offer." Sarah's voice remained conversational, but her words cut through the chamber like a blade. Of course, that was before their homeworld became a mining operation, and their children were relocated to educational facilities where they could learn more civilized behaviors. Torres smiled grimly as she added, "Or the Kethmori Collective. Amazing what happened to their hive cities once they were placed under Federation protection. Funny how a species that had lived in harmony for thousands of years suddenly needed to be separated and managed for their own safety." The silence stretched until it became almost physical. Dr. Morrison pulled out a small data pad and began reading from it. "The Jirani Republic, the Thexnai Confederacy, the Mordoon Empire. 43 species that accepted Federation protection in the last century. Would you like to guess how many of them still exist as independent cultures?" Crixtal's scales had shifted to deep red, which Sarah's briefings indicated was a sign of barely controlled rage. "How could you possibly know about internal Federation matters?" Sarah finally allowed herself to smile. "The same way we know about the forced labor camps disguised as educational facilities. The same way we know about the memory modification programs you call cultural integration therapy. The same way we know that every species you've protected has either been enslaved or eliminated within a generation." General Zephyr rose from his seat, his massive form casting a shadow over the human delegation. "You will explain how you acquired classified Federation information, or you will be held in contempt of this assembly." "Will we?" Torres asked mildly. She reached into her pocket and pulled out what looked like a simple communication device. "Dr. Morrison, would you like to do the honors?" Morrison nodded and spoke a single word. "Phoenix." Every screen in the EAD chamber suddenly displayed the same image. a star chart showing the current location of Nexus Prime, with tactical information scrolling alongside it. But more disturbing were the red icons surrounding the station, dozens of them, each marked. With human designations, the reaction was immediate chaos. Delegates began shouting in multiple languages while their translators struggled to keep up. Security alarms began wailing throughout the station. General Zephyr was screaming orders into his communication device while Ambassador Krikstal stared at the screens in shock. "This is impossible," Krikstal whispered. "Our sensors show no human vessels in this sector." Sarah's smile widened. "Your sensors show exactly what we want them to show. Ambassador, meet the real human delegation." She gestured to the screens where the tactical display was updating in real time. "Those aren't ships you're detecting. They're weapons platforms that have been in position around this station for the past 6 months. We arrived early for this meeting." Dr. Morrison checked his chronometer. "You have approximately 30 seconds before we demonstrate that human technology is neither primitive nor inadequate." "You're bluffing," General Zephyr snarled. "No species has ever threatened Federation forces on Nexus Prime. The defensive systems alone could destroy any attacking force." "Your defensive systems are certainly impressive," Torres agreed conversationally. "We particularly admired the quantum resonance barriers and the gravitational field generators. Very elegant design work. Of course, they do have some vulnerabilities," Dr. Morrison added, consulting his datapad. "The power coupling on level 7 is inadequately shielded, and the backup generators have a 17-second gap in coverage during the switching sequence." Park, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke up. "System override complete. Nexus Prime defensive grid is now under human control." The chamber's lights flickered and changed from the standard white to a soft blue. Every alien delegate's personal communication device simultaneously displayed the same message in their own language. "Currently under human protection. Please remain calm." Krikstal's scales had gone completely white, which Sarah recognized as the serpentine equivalent of absolute terror. "This cannot be happening. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy. We have surveyed your capabilities extensively." "You surveyed what we allowed you to see," Sarah corrected. "Every radio transmission, every satellite communication, every piece of technology you observed was carefully crafted to give you exactly the impression we wanted. Did you really think a species intelligent enough to develop faster than light? Travel would broadcast their military capabilities on open channels." The tactical displays updated again, showing Federation fleet positions throughout the local galactic cluster. Each friendly icon was now accompanied by a red indicator, showing that human forces had been tracking and monitoring them for years. "You see, Ambassador, humanity learned a very important lesson from studying your previous protectorates," Dr. Morrison explained as he gathered his papers. "We learned that the moment a species reveals their true capabilities to the Federation, they become a target for absorption. So we chose a different path. For the past 60 years, since your first surveillance drones entered our solar system, we've been building a very careful illusion," Torres continued. "We let you see primitive chemical rockets while we developed quantum displacement drives. We let you intercept communications about metal projectile weapons while we perfected energy-matter conversion systems." Sarah walked to the center of the chamber, her voice carrying clearly to every delegate. "The Federation has spent so much time looking down on younger species that you forgot the most important rule of intelligence gathering. Never underestimate your opposition." The screens around the chamber changed again, showing images from across the galaxy. Supposed mining operations on remote worlds revealed themselves to be human military bases. Trading outposts transformed into weapons manufacturing facilities. Even some of the primitive colonies the Federation had dismissed as agricultural worlds displayed advanced defensive systems. 74 years ago, humanity received its first message from beyond Earth, Sarah announced. It wasn't from the Federation. It was from a dying Valdorian commander broadcasting on an emergency frequency as his homeworld fell. He told us what the Federation really was, and he warned us what would happen if we weren't prepared. She paused, letting the implications sink in before continuing. That commander's name was Thoktar the Defiant. His message contained detailed intelligence about Federation tactics, technology, and weaknesses gathered over a decade of resistance. We've been preparing for this meeting ever since. Krixtal found his voice, though it shook with rage and fear. You cannot threaten the Federation. We have thousands of worlds, millions of ships, resources beyond your comprehension. And every single one of them is now within range of human weapon systems, Park stated matter-of-factly, checking her tablet. We've been very busy for the past 74 years. Dr. Morrison looked up from his calculations. The interesting thing about having 74 years to prepare is that it gives you time to be very thorough. Every Federation world, every fleet base, every manufacturing center, every command station, we know where they are, how they're defended, and exactly how to neutralize them. The chamber erupted in angry voices as delegates demanded explanations, reassurances, and immediate military action. Through the chaos, General Zephyr's voice cut like a blade. You dare threaten the peace and stability of the galaxy? Sarah's expression grew cold. General, the Federation has enslaved or destroyed 43 species in the past century alone. You've systematically eliminated every culture that refused to submit to your protection. You call it peace, but it's really just the silence of the graveyard. She gestured to the screens, showing Federation activities across the galaxy. You want to talk about threats to galactic stability? Show me one species that's better off after accepting Federation protection. Show me one culture that retained its independence, its traditions, its freedom. We provide security, longevity, technological advancement, Krixtal protested. But his scales continued to shift through stress patterns. You provide slavery with better marketing, Torres replied. The memory modification programs alone constitute genocide under any reasonable definition. Dr. Morrison stood and straightened his diplomatic coat. Ambassador Krixtal, General Zephyr, distinguished delegates, humanity has come to a decision regarding Federation membership. The chamber fell silent again. Thousands of alien eyes focused on the small human delegation. We decline your generous offer of protection, Sarah said formally. Furthermore, we hereby serve notice that the Federation's expansion through forced protectorates ends today. The silence stretched for long moments before Krixtal spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. You cannot be serious. You would go to war with the entire galaxy? We would prefer not to, Sarah admitted. War is wasteful and destructive, but if the Federation insists on treating sovereign species as resources to be harvested, then yes, we will go to war. She turned to address the entire assembly. However, we're not unreasonable. The Federation has exactly 72 hours to begin the process of releasing all protectorate species from their current status. Full independence, full sovereignty, full right to determine their own futures. And if we refuse, General Zephyr demanded. Torres smiled with genuine warmth. Then you'll discover exactly what a properly motivated human military is capable of accomplishing. The tactical displays updated one final time, showing the scope of human preparations across the galaxy. Weapons platforms, fleet bases, manufacturing centers, all of them hidden in plain sight for decades, all of them now revealed and operational. Dr. Morrison gathered the last of his papers and tucked them into his briefcase. The 72-hour deadline begins now. We'll be returning to our ship to await your decision. You'll go nowhere, Krixtal snarled. Nexus Prime Security will ensure you remain here until this situation is resolved. Sarah chuckled. Ambassador, I think you misunderstand the current balance of power. She nodded to Park, who pressed a button on her device. Every Federation security officer on the station suddenly found their weapons and communication equipment completely non-functional. Emergency bulkheads sealed throughout the facility, trapping military personnel away from critical systems. The station's artificial gravity fluctuated just enough to make everyone queasy before returning to normal. As I said, we'll be returning to our ship now, Sarah repeated pleasantly. Please don't mistake our restraint for weakness. We could have taken control of this station months ago if we'd wanted to. We chose to meet with you here because we believe in giving everyone a chance to choose their path forward. The human Delegation walked toward the chamber's exit, their footsteps echoing in the absolute silence. At the doorway, Sarah paused and turned back. "Oh, an ambassador? That communication device Dr. Morrison used isn't connected to our weapons systems. It was just a signal to let our forces know that negotiations had concluded." Her expression grew serious. "The weapons platforms around this station have been fully autonomous for the past hour. They're programmed to ensure the safety of every being aboard Nexus Prime, but they'll react very poorly to any aggressive actions." She smiled one last time before leaving. 72 hours, gentlemen. Choose wisely." The chamber doors closed, behind the humans with a soft pneumatic hiss, leaving thousands of Federation delegates staring at tactical displays showing the true scope of human preparation and capability. For the first time in galactic history, the Federation had encountered a species that was not only unwilling to submit, but fully capable of backing up their refusal with force. The age of human isolation was ending, but not in the way anyone had expected. The sleeping giant stirs. The war room aboard the Federation flagship Dominion's Edge buzzed with frantic activity. Admiral Kethvar stood before a massive holographic display showing the disposition of Federation forces across 3 galactic sectors. His 4 eyes tracked the movements of fleet icons while his subordinates provided constant updates on human activities throughout known space. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never known defeat in 40 years of military service. Commander Yixtal, a tall gray-skinned humanoid, stepped forward with a data tablet. "The human deadline expired 3 hours ago. Federation High Command has rejected their ultimatum. All fleet commanders have received orders to begin immediate pacification operations against human colonies and installations." "Good, Admiral," Kethvar growled. "It's time to remind the galaxy why the Federation has maintained peace for so long. How many ships do we have available for Operation Final Lesson?" 8,000 vessels across all classes, Yixtal reported. "The largest military force ever assembled by the Federation. Intelligence estimates suggest the humans have no more than 200 ships capable of interstellar combat." The Admiral's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "Overwhelming force has always been the most efficient way to end conflicts quickly. What about the weapons platforms they revealed at Nexus Prime?" "Our analysis indicates they were likely decoys, or greatly exaggerated," another officer reported. "The energy signatures didn't match any known weapons technology. Our xenoarchaeologists believe the humans discovered some ancient artifacts and used them to create impressive visual displays." Admiral Kethvar studied the tactical display, watching as Federation fleets moved into position around human territories. The Sol system, Earth's home, was surrounded by 3 full battle groups. Outlying human colonies were targeted by smaller task forces, but each still represented overwhelming superiority over estimated human defenses. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the human diplomatic vessel. It's the same Captain Chen from the Nexus Prime meeting." "Put her on screen," Kethvar ordered. "I want to offer her one final chance to surrender before we demonstrate the consequences of defying Federation authority." The main viewer flickered to life, showing Captain Sarah Chen standing on what appeared to be the bridge of her vessel. Behind her, human officers worked, at their stations with calm efficiency. She looked exactly as she had during the diplomatic meeting 3 days earlier, composed, confident, and completely unintimidated. "Admiral Kethvar," she said pleasantly. "I assume you received our deadline and the Federation's response to it?" "Captain Chen, you have one final opportunity to avoid unnecessary bloodshed," the Admiral replied. "Surrender your vessels and instruct all human colonies to stand down. The Federation is prepared to be lenient if you cease this foolish resistance immediately." Chen's expression didn't change. "I appreciate the offer, Admiral, but I'm afraid we must decline. However, I would like to extend the same courtesy to you. Order your fleets to withdraw to their home systems, and humanity will not take further action against Federation forces." The bridge of the Dominion's Edge erupted in laughter. Several officers made comments that the translators rendered as various expressions of disbelief and mockery. Admiral Kethvar raised a hand for silence. "Captain, you are surrounded by the largest fleet in galactic history. Your homeworld is blockaded. Your colonies are cut off from each other and from Earth. What exactly do you think you can accomplish?" Chen smiled, and something in her expression made the laughter die away. "Admiral, has anyone ever told you about human history? What relevance does that have to your current situation?" "Well, we have a saying, never wake a sleeping dragon. Unfortunately for the Federation, you've been poking at humanity for 74 years, and now the dragon is awake." She turned slightly, speaking to someone off-screen. "Dr. Morrison, would you care to show the Admiral what we've been working on?" The scene shifted to show Dr. Morrison at what looked like a control station. Behind him, a large screen displayed star charts and tactical information. "Certainly, Captain. Admiral Kethvar, allow me to present the silent protocol." The display on the Federation flagship updated automatically, showing the same information Dr. Morrison was viewing. What they saw made every officer on the bridge stop talking at once. The Sol system was not surrounded by Federation forces. The Federation forces were surrounded by something far larger and more complex than anyone had imagined. What their sensors had identified as asteroids, space debris, and natural phenomena were revealing their true nature as humanity's defensive network. "This is impossible," Commander Yixtal whispered. "Our sensors show no artificial structures in the Sol system." "Your sensors show exactly what we want them to show," Dr. Morrison replied calmly. "Admiral, meet Luna Base Command." On the screen, Earth's moon began to change. What had appeared to be impact craters revealed themselves as weapons ports. Mountain ranges split open to show massive manufacturing facilities. The entire surface of the moon transformed from a barren landscape into the most heavily fortified military installation anyone had ever seen. Admiral Kethvar stared in shock as the moon's true nature became apparent. "The moon is a weapons platform?" "Luna has been under construction for 72 years, Captain Chen explained. "We decided that if we were going to build defenses, we might as well make them impossible to detect. Every mining operation, every research station, every supposedly civilian facility has been part of the project." The tactical display updated again, showing the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Like the moon, what appeared to be natural, space debris began revealing hidden purposes. Automated defense platforms, manufacturing centers, and weapon systems emerged from concealment throughout the solar system. "The silent protocol wasn't just about hiding our capabilities," Dr. Morrison continued. "It was about making the Federation completely misunderstand what humanity represents." Commander Yixtal was frantically working at his station. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the system. Power signatures are off the scale." "Of course they are," Chen said matter-of-factly. "We've had 74 years to prepare for this moment. Did you really think we spent all that time building primitive chemical rockets?" Admiral Kethvar found his voice, though it shook with uncertainty. "You cannot have converted an entire solar system into a weapons platform. The resources required would be enormous." "You're right," Chen agreed. "It would require the resources of multiple solar systems. Fortunately, humanity hasn't been limited to Sol for quite some time." The display shifted to show star charts of human space. What the Federation had mapped as 17 small colonies revealed their true nature. Each world was a fully developed industrial center with defensive capabilities that matched anything the Federation possessed. Admiral Kethvar was beginning to understand the scope of what they faced. "How long have you been deceiving us?" "Since first contact," Chen replied simply. "The moment we learned about the Federation's true nature from the Valdorian survivors, we began planning. Every communication you intercepted was carefully crafted. Every technology demonstration was designed to show you exactly what we wanted you to see." Dr. Morrison brought up historical data. "The most challenging part was making our deception consistent over 7 decades. We had to ensure that our apparent technological development followed a believable progression while hiding our real advances." "What real advances?" Commander Yixtal asked, though he clearly dreaded the answer. "Well, faster-than-light communication for starters," Chen said casually. "Your fleets have been reporting their positions and activities to us in real time. For the past 3 years, every Federation vessel has been broadcasting its location, crew complement, weapon status, and mission parameters directly to our intelligence networks. The bridge crew looked at each other in confusion. "That's impossible," Admiral Kethvar protested. "Our communication systems are secure and encrypted." "Your communication systems are secure against other Federation species," Dr. Morrison corrected. "But we've been analyzing your technology for 7 decades. Breaking your encryption was actually one of the easier challenges." Captain Chen walked closer to her screen. "Admiral, every Federation ship currently in human space is completely visible to us. We know their exact positions, their capabilities, their crew status, even their intended targets. Would you like to see?" Without waiting for an answer, the display updated to show the precise location of every Federation vessel in the sector. Not only their positions, but detailed technical readouts of each ship's systems, power levels, and armament status. "The battle group near Proxima Centauri has been having problems with their quantum drive resonance for the past 6 hours," Chen observed, reading from her own displays. "The task force approaching Kepler 442 has 2 vessels with damaged deflector arrays from a training accident last week. Shall I continue?" Admiral Kethvar felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: genuine fear. "What do you want from us?" "What we've always wanted," Chen replied. "The Federation stops enslaving species under the pretense of protection. Release all Protectorate worlds immediately. Allow genuine self-determination for all species. End the expansion program." "And if we refuse?" Chen's expression grew serious. "Then we demonstrate why the Federation should have left humanity alone." She nodded to Dr. Morrison, who began entering commands on his console. "Admiral, you currently have 8,000 ships positioned to attack human territories. Each one of those ships is now being targeted by between 5 and 12 human weapons platforms." The tactical display updated to show targeting solutions for every Federation vessel. Lines of fire from human installations converged on Federation fleets, showing that each ship was completely surrounded and outgunned. "This is still just a bluff," Admiral Kethvar said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Even if you have the weapons platforms, you cannot possibly have the firepower to threaten our entire fleet." "Admiral," Chen said patiently, "humanity has been preparing for this war for 74 years. We've had time to be very thorough." Dr. Morrison looked up from his controls. "Demonstration authorized, Captain." "Very well. Admiral, please observe the Federation patrol ship Swift Justice currently positioned near the Jupiter orbital platforms." On the screen, they watched as targeting systems locked onto a single Federation cruiser. The ship suddenly found itself illuminated by dozens of targeting lasers from hidden platforms throughout the Jupiter system. "Swift Justice is now being painted by 47 separate weapon systems," Dr. Morrison reported. "Each system alone is capable of destroying the EUR vessel. Combined, they represent approximately 1,800 times the firepower needed for a clean kill." The Federation ship began evasive maneuvers, but the targeting systems tracked its every movement perfectly. No matter how the ship moved, it remained locked in the crosshairs of weapons it couldn't even see. "Of course, we have no intention of harming your crew," Chen said as the demonstration continued. "But we wanted you to understand the tactical situation before making any hasty decisions." Admiral Kethvar watched his ship try desperately to escape the targeting systems. "What kind of weapons are those?" "The same kind we've installed around every Federation world," Chen replied matter-of-factly. "It took us 40 years to position them properly, but every inhabited system in the Federation is now within range of human weapons platforms." The implications hit the Admiral like a physical blow. "You're talking about thousands of worlds." 11,437 worlds to be precise, Dr. Morrison confirmed. "Plus 2,847 orbital stations, 418 deep space facilities, and 67 mobile command centers. Complete coverage of all Federation territories." Chen walked back to her command chair and sat down. "Admiral, humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We don't want to conquer or enslave other species. We just want to be left alone to develop our own civilization in peace." "Then why all of this?" Admiral Kethvar gestured to the displays showing the scope of human preparations. Because we learned from the Valdorians and 42 other species that the Federation doesn't understand the concept of leaving people alone, Chen replied. You see independence as a threat to be eliminated and diversity as a problem to be solved. Dr. Morrison stood up from his console. The choice is very simple, Admiral. The Federation can adapt to a galaxy where not every species wants to be absorbed into your collective, or the Federation can cease to exist. You would destroy entire civilizations? We would defend our right to exist as free beings, Chen corrected. The destruction would be the Federation's choice, not ours. Admiral Kethvar looked around his bridge at officers who had never faced a situation like this. The Federation had always been the overwhelming power in any conflict. The idea of being outgunned and outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive was almost impossible to accept. How long do we have to decide? The 72-hour deadline has already passed, Chen reminded him, but we're prepared to extend it to allow for proper consultation with your leadership. You have until this time tomorrow to begin releasing Protectorate species. And if the Federation Council refuses? Chen's expression grew cold. Then you'll discover that humanity has been very patient for 74 years, but our patience is not unlimited. The communication ended, leaving the bridge of the Dominion's edge in stunned silence. Around them, 8,000 Federation ships found themselves surrounded, outgunned, and completely at the mercy of a species they had planned to conquer in an afternoon. Admiral Kethvar stared at the tactical displays showing the true scope of human preparation and capability. For the first time in galactic history, the Federation faced an opponent that was not only unwilling to submit, but capable of destroying them entirely. The age of Federation dominance was ending, and a new chapter in galactic history was